Episode 244, UFC Houston. Let's go. If you're new here, Meat Boy MMA, free DIY locks since 2020. You're fake late, real early. Either way, we're the only transparent pickers in the space. If you're looking for immediate locks, head straight to the timestamps below. You'll see the 5 fights we're breaking down today. But I do want to quickly recap Meta 1. It was 2 weeks ago, Meat Boy. We won't touch on it too much, but the Dink Dog MEATLOCK of the Power Bar was slightly unsuccessful. Pretty close, pretty competitive. Ultimately, the Dink did not cash, the Dink Dog, in fact. And I want to talk to you more so about the meat event. Mario Bautista was the 2-1 favorite. We both picked the Lock Dog. Lock Dog had absolutely smoked Bautista with a beautiful finish. What'd you make of the Bautista performance? And is he going to challenge for a title, or was Lock Dog overhyped? Give Mario Bautista his flowers. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, Mario Patino looked really great. I mean, yeah, I mean, fundamentally, he's just so good, sound all which ways. Makes sense. His only loss is Umar. Umar is kind of that weird anomaly. Mario doesn't really have that X factor. I mean, the guy's never. I'm gonna be honest. The guy's never gonna get a title fight. I think Oliveira was gonna get a title fight, or maybe something close to that. If he won, he's just more marketable. Mario is just a little too more bland, too basic. So he needs to pump his content, pump his personality. I don't even know really anything about him except for he's an AZ bro, and he's a solid fighter, and he seems like a good, nice guy. But good, nice does not sell fights or get you where he probably wants to go. Or he could go the Usman or Leon Scott, where it's. But I mean, he lost to Umar. That means he can lose. He's not these anomalies like those two. So we'll see where he goes. But man, either he's really good and Oliveira really did break his arm, because Lockdog said that he had a broken arm and that was an easy fight, but he took it because he had to. And some of these guys, they have financial struggles or whatever reasons they take. Like, why would you take a fight if your arm is broken? But I don't know. So no shame in that. What a warrior. That's crazy. But who knows? I would like to see that fight again if it is true. If it's not true, Lockdog, I mean, that's pretty lame excuse to make up because you're embarrassed of losing to Mario Batista, who you think you're better than.
Yeah, a lot of fair points for sure. You wonder if he was as injured as he says he was. I'll take him at his word for sure. And if that impacted it, then I guess that would make sense. But either way, it is kind of a shame that Mario Bautista isn't quite as marketable. It doesn't quite sell the fights like the promotion would prefer. Because at the end of the day, this is a sport. I mean, at least that's what they tell us. Obviously, it's a business. It's all marketing at the end of the day as well. But from just a talent perspective, Mario Bautista really impressed me a lot in that fight and is seemingly a dude that has no weak spots. So curious to see what happens for him. I agree with you 100% though. If the Lock Dog wins that fight, he probably cuts a sweet promo. He's probably getting a title fight soon. Bautista is definitely going to be on the Bilal route, the Jack Della route, the circuitous long way path for sure. But either way, Meta won in the rear view. The card was fine. I mean, I thought that the production was a little bit smoother. Feel like it's getting a little bit better as far as how they're force feeding all the commercials via Paramount. But either way, it's back to Houston this week for a low key scrapper. Trying to swap it through.
Yeah, let's swap through and get right to the meat.
Yeah, move us in then. It's the Milok. You see the text, and you heard me say in 2026 how Michel Pereira Demolidor is truly one of the worst fighters in the UFC. This was a fighter who you and I were both well aboard the train. The dude's doing backflips. Besides the fight where he gassed himself out because of his dance moves and then lost to Boone Stonks, after that it was pretty much all W's and was enough to really impress the both of us. However, the last couple of years, Michel Pereira, we can just say, has lost focus. You could say his priorities are in the wrong place, perhaps, and his fighting has been absolutely abysmal for the past 3 years. Hasn't won a round in 3 straight fights. Continues to get finished, and somehow is a favorite in this one against Zach Reese, who is 10-2, Contender Series product, a dude that the UFC was quickly trying to promote and push from the onset, and he then lost that fight against Cody Brundage. He lost the fight against Bakoyev. But since then, he's been going on a nice little tear, and we like him as a dink dog meatlock against truly one of the worst fighters in the UFC, Demolidor. So, what are your thoughts on this meatlock? How would you square for the longtime viewers, the UFC feats, the home wreck and knee knockers, who might say, "Hey, Meat, you were extremely bullish on Demolidor for many years, and now you're picking him to lose as a meatlock against Zach Reese." How would you square those critiques, and what makes you in 2026 bullish on the fact that Demolidor is just truly done?
No, those are fair critiques, and Demolador was and one of my all-time favorite fighters, one of the funniest dudes ever, one of the most entertaining, was the most entertaining, and now it's just like, what have we been watching? Does he owe debt somebody? Like, he used to be a great fighter. He's over there throwing fights, doing weird stuff, just looking like the worst fighter in the UFC. It's wild to see somebody that looked like a top five fighter turn to a bottom five all-time worst fighter in the division. And like, he can make weight, he can't make weight. He's going up, down. You just don't know where this guy is, and so I don't even think he's in it for the game. I think he's a freak specimen, but he's more for the social media clout and goofiness, which kind of makes sense. I should have kind of noticed he's not about this life as much as I was hoping. He's doing backflips in a fight, right? So how much can you really take him serious? Versus his opponent, I mean, this guy. He's looking pretty good so far. This will be his toughest fight yet, but man, those odds, and I just think Demolador is just falling off the face of the earth at this point. And I think Savage Reese is gonna smoke him.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the best indicator for us as backers of the dog in this one, a dog, Dink Dog, Meatlock for Savage, that fight against Dusko Todorovic. And it's not like Dusko is the best fighter in the world, but could Dusko, if he fought Demolidor this Saturday, win that fight? I say arguably, absolutely. So if that's a recent comp, that to me is good enough to sort of combat the point of, well, yeah, Michel Pereira probably historically has faced some better fighters, but when you really start to inspect Demolidor's victories, I mean, the dude beat Zaleem Amadaev, awful. Chaos Williams, double-digit losses. Nico Price hasn't seen a second round in about a decade. Fiallo arguably lost that fight. Ponzinibbio split, lost that fight. Ihor Potieria is your most recent win. I mean, Demolidor, let's just say everything from the onset was inflated with this dude, and we think Savage, easy light work in this Dink Dog Meatlock. So let's keep it simple, Meat Boy. Let's recover from last week's Power Bar L. Keep it simple. Throw down an easy 100 to net 122. Get us that, let's see, 131st Meatlock overall, and keep 2026 on the tracks. Any thoughts on how this fight goes down? Obviously, it's the Zach Reese Meatlock, but is he going to finish Demolder?
Yeah, honestly, it would not surprise me if he blows air and then Demolidor somehow gets knocked out. You can't really trust Demolidor. It seems like with the performances, you don't know if that's he's actually losing, if he's losing on purpose. It's just so random. We don't know what kind of weird business he's in, or maybe he just doesn't train and he's just that bad. I don't know, but I think Zach Reese knocks him out probably second round.
Yeah, 55% Tapology rolling with the dog, Zach Reese. They're with the Dink Dog Meatlock. 45% going with Michel Pereira. Lots of brown on both sides. So they do think that Reese could sleep him. Last point, Reese is so much bigger than this guy, Michel Pereira. Remember, Pereira, 170 pounder, doesn't want to cut the weight. More of a tweener, Kevin Lee style guy. Zach Reese is a monster, 6'4", 77-inch reach, sniping punches. I like your second round prediction for a Zach Reese finish. So easy light work, Meatlock. Take it to the grill. Swap us through the Meat Boy. First of the non-Meatlocks. Auntie Delija taking on Sergey Spivak, the polar bear, who at one point was kind of killing it, fringe top 10 dude in heavyweight, but now has lost two of three. His only recent win, though, was against our boy, Polish brother, performance of the night when he submitted Marcin Tibura. So two straight L's for the polar bear. The Legion, meanwhile, should be coming in on a three-fight win streak. Most recently was that controversial fight against Waldo Cortez where Delija knocks him out. Then the referees go to the review station and say, oh, it was a headbutt. They resume the fight despite the fact that Delija just had a complete adrenaline dump. And then he gets slept by Waldo about 30 seconds later, despite the fact that Waldo was basically blind in one eye. So a crazy contextual matchup there. But when zooming out, onto Delija, if that chaos doesn't happen, might be on a three-fight win streak, picking up back-to-back first round finishes. So what do you make of this one? Delija is a decent favorite, minus 160-ish. Spivak is coming in as plus 124 dog. You taking the polar bear on this one, or is Delija going to put him in a cage?
Man, Spivak probably loses this fight. I feel like he's just not on a good trajectory right now, but I am such a shill for Spivak. I have hopes for him. He's so young. He was so good at one point. I hope that this is the fight to get him back on the right track, get him the momentum going. But this is probably a close fight, to be honest. But I really hope that Spivak wins this and uses his grappling and jiu-jitsu and maybe gets a quick submission. If it stays on the feet, probably not going to look good.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, you mentioned the submission. If there is a pathway for the polar bear, does he have to get back to those wrestling roots, really make it grimy? I mean, if we remember, he was able to take down Tibura and really muscled him around on the ground when there. And that's Marcin Tibura, who's a dude who's usually doing that to his opponents, right? So we know Spivak has that in his game, but against Jailton, we didn't see it. He got smoked. And especially against Waldo most recently, we didn't see it. He got smoked. So is that going to be the pathway, like returning to the maneuvers that allowed you to have success against guys as good as Tibura, against guys like Derek Lewis? And do you think that'll be the pathway against Ante Delija?
Yeah, I think it is going to be the pathway.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm curious to see how this one plays out. Tapology is pretty split, but if this fight's on the feet, could Spivak survive, or do you think for as long as it's there, he's going to be a fish out of water and Delija might sleep him, basically like how he fake slept Waldo?
Yeah, I mean, I I could see him fake sleeping, stopped, and then Spivak gets the sub. But I think Spivak is just going to dominate from the beginning. Uses grappling, uses weight, uses skill, and he should be able to get it done.
It's fascinating, right? Because he's younger, he's a little bit bigger. They're kind of the same size, but Ante Delija, despite being 35 years old, 84% topology rolling with him. It's all brown. They think that he's going to sleep Spivak. Man, I'm kind of back and forth on this one. Final pitch for why Sergey gets this one done as someone who's truly on the fence.
I think Spivak, the age, I mean, if he doesn't win this next one, he's probably getting cut, to be honest. So it's his career's on the line. I mean, he might go to BKFC after this, but I don't know. This to me is like, hey, you lost to Jalton. We tried to get you to that championship fight. Jalton was too big of a task. Somehow you lost to Waldo. I had to recalibrate Waldo. Maybe I start putting respect on his name because he's just so bad, but he's been winning nonstop. This is the guy to get you back in that momentum and get a dub. This is a tune-up fight. If you can't win this, maybe one more, but you're probably getting cut. That's kind of where I'm at with Spivak. So Spivak should be able to get this done. He's so young. He's not even in his prime yet, and the dude's a monster. Has a lot of he's a good prospect, but we'll see where his head's at.
Yeah, I agree with you. He was for sure at one point a good prospect. I just don't know if that remains correct. And you mentioned how, that fight against Jailton, he got slept in that fight. And you said, could this be too big of a task? It was too big of a task. He got slept. Jailton got cut a couple weeks ago. So it's like if you're getting slept by Pillow McGee, who hasn't finished a sandwich basically since he finished Spivak, that to me spells bad news against Ante Delija. So I'm going to fade the meat pick, the perpetual backing of your boy Polar Bear. Got to respect it though. If he gets this one done, major Fern in your cap. I'm going to go Delija by probably second round finish. It's going to be a tune up, but I don't think Spivak's going to pass the test. And I think he's getting tuned up straight to a PFL. Maybe we see him fight Francis or something, but the UFC story is done for the Polar Bear. I got Delija by finish. You got Spivak by finish or decision?
Submission first round.
Sergey Spivak submission first round. Let us know if you're taking Delija or Spivak. Swap us through them, boy, because this one's interesting. Dan Ige plus 164. Taking on your boy Melky Costa minus 215. We had a milk lock not too long ago. I believe we closed out 2025 with Melky Costa as a pretty decent dog, and it was a beautiful milk lock for us against the Pirate Morgan Charrier. And essentially, we were just seeing what the recent output was, right? 4 straight wins for him going into that fight against the Pirate and all against guys that we have a lot of respect for, right? Julian Erosa, Juicy J beats a lot of dudes. He got smoked by Milky Costa. C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez, same story. Got smoked by Milky Costa. I mean, the dude was putting together win after win, and it makes sense to me that they're now giving him Dan Ige after that impressive 1 minute finish over the last Pirate. And Dan Ige is a dude who obviously was very close to the top, a top 5 guy, in fact, but he's lost 3 of 4, and his only recent win was a third round YOLO knockout against Sean the Sniper Woodson. So, what do you make of this fight? Do you think that the milk lock will be another milk lock against Dan Ige, or is the minus 215 milk lock odds a little bit too inflated and maybe you're going to sneak in the Ige backdoor? Who are you taking?
No, this is a fun fight. This is a great fight. Man, uh, Danny Ige is a big levels test for this guy. I mean, I gotta imagine that this is a tune-up slash retirement fight for Danny Ige. Danny Ige is so young, but yet he feels so old, and it's kind of like, okay, you couldn't beat, Pitbull, you beat Sean Woodson, now you're fighting Costa, young blood, hungry killer. We'll see where you go from here. So they're definitely putting both these guys to the test. Definitely more value if Costa wins. Not much value if Ige wins. If Ige wins, it's just like, okay, you're Ige. If Costa wins, holy crap, what can this kid do next? He's going to get another higher level ranked opponent. So I think they're trying to push the Costa guy. He seems marketable. He's got a personality. So we'll see where that's at. I think they think he's going to win. That's why they're booking this fight because it just seems kind of random in my opinion. But they're giving the kid a chance. I think I gotta take Dan Ige. This is just such a big levels test. I don't know if I'm sold on Costa yet. He's on a great fight win streak, but I mean his best win is Julian Erosa? C-Rod? C-Rod's pretty good, but that ain't no Dan Ige.
Yeah, fair points for sure. I mean, we both agree Arosa and C-Rod, beautiful wins for sure. Are they on that Dan Ige level? That's a great point. I mean, Dan Ige has faced obviously stiffer competition, has nice wins too. I mean, Andre Fili's a perpetual top 15 guy. Nate the Train Landwehr, he smoked Damon Jackson, the Leech, who's pretty fake nice. Barbosa, if you keep scrolling. I mean, the losses too for Dan Ige, besides Patricio Pitbull most recent, I'm going to come back to that, but his other losses, Lerone Murphy arguably should be fighting for a title. Diego Lopez just fought for a title. Bryce Mitchell, that one perhaps hasn't aged too gracefully, but Imovlev before that.
Where are
A lot of
you?
pretty excusable losses for Dan Ige. But the most recent one against Patricio Pitbull, that's what we saw recently. It was only 7 months ago, and Pitbull unanimous Dan Ige in a fight that Dan Ige looked pretty bad, and Pitbull was basically back against the wall, proving his worth in the UFC. I mean, we just saw what happened to the other Bellator hype beast, Patchy Mix,
Patchy.
fights twice, gets cut immediately. Pitbull was basically in that same position before getting a victory over Dan Ige and a convincing one. So, are you at all concerned if you're picking Ige as a dog against a surging Milky Costa? Are you at all concerned that that version that we saw against Patricio Pitbull won't be enough to stop Milky Costa?
Yeah, I don't know if I just don't know if Costa's got it in him to beat Ige, to be honest. I gotta take the veteran until proven otherwise. I mean, he hasn't fought anyone near Dan Ige's level, um, so just on that alone. But if he beats him, I mean, especially in spectacular fashion, I mean, this kid's young, and depending on hunger, how much he's leveled up, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and one last point on Melky Costa. This dude only has two losses in the UFC. One to Thiago Moises, who is pretty solid, has been a top 15 guy, and then the other to Steve Garcia, the Mean Machine, who we've been riding since the beginning. And Steve Garcia might be challenging for a title in the next year or so. I mean, Steve Garcia is legit. So in this one, if those are your only two losses, if Dan Ige just fought the way he fought against Patricio Pitbull, who arguably is a patchy mix adjacent Bellator bust, I gotta roll with the homie Melky Costa in this one. He came through as the milk lock dog. I think he'll come through as a favorite. I don't like the odds though, and I obviously see the value in Dan Ige because you make great points. I mean, Dan Ige is still Dan Ige, has fought everyone in the division, has looked competitive against most of them. I just worry about this recent 34, going on 35 version of Dan Ige against Melky Costa, who is surging, is massive, and has only lost to studs himself. So I'm going to go decision, Melky Costa. I think it's going to be close. So I'm going to go split decision, Melky Costa. Are you going Ige by decision or finish?
Ige, man, I do kind of want to go finish, but I think it will be a decision.
Ige KO spilled milk would be interesting for sure. Decision Dan probably is more reasonable though. Either way, it's an interesting one. Let us know in the comments if you're taking Ige or Milky. But swap us through. It's the co-meet, same odds. Jeff Neal, I was a little bit surprised to see is a pretty decent minus 215 favorite against Uros Medic, the doctor who at plus 164 has finally been coming into his own. Right, this is a dude who had a lot of hype at one point, picked up a couple questionable losses, but recently has been on a nice tear, and he's finishing all the dudes he's been going up against. He's won two straight. Gilbert Urbina slept in 1 minute. Muslim Salikov, the Kung Fu Panda, slept in 1 minute. now gets a good opportunity against Hands of Steel Neal, who says he's coming in with a clear head for the first time in basically a half decade. So you taking Jeff Neal, or do the minus 215 odds, similar to the last fight in Milky Costa, scare you enough, and perhaps you see some value in his opponent, the Doctor? Who you taking?
Yeah, Medic, I mean, solid fighter, but man, he's still Jeff Neal. It's like he doesn't lose to anyone unless you're really good. So I gotta take Kansas Steel. The odds kind of make sense. I gotta agree with the odds makers on this one, and I think Kansas Steel gets done KO.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you're taking Jeff Neal. I was gonna ask how by how, and it sounds like you're taking by KO. If you are taking Jeff Neal to go out and sleep the Doctor, is it just similar to how Puna, your boy, was able to do so in 30 seconds? And I mean, if you're getting slept via the hands of Puna in 30 seconds, how are you gonna last 10 seconds against Jeff Neal? Is that kind of where the rationale is?
Yeah, I mean, Puna, definitely my boy, good, but yeah, that's kind of the rationale. Is like you're not gonna hang with Jeff Neal if you can't handle with the Puna.
If you're taking him in this one's Hands of Steel, do you think this fight will be a long competitive contest and one where Medic gasses out? I mean, we've seen him late into contests really start to fade. Jeff Neal, meanwhile, seemingly has one of those infinite gas tanks. You can point to examples of him getting better later in contests. Is this going to be late or early or often?
Definitely often, definitely early, definitely not late.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. I was thinking about going Medic in this one as the Dink Dog, but he seems like the type of fighter that as soon as you pick him in a marquee spot, a co-meet slot like this, is probably when he definitely loses and to your point, maybe even gets slept. So I'll roll with you in this one. I don't like the minus 215 odds though. I feel like that's slightly inflated for Jeff Neal, but I'm gonna buy what he's selling. He's coming in clear, ready to make a statement on the Doctor. I'm gonna go by decision though. I think that Medic puts up a good fight and maybe wins a round or two. If you're taking Jeff Neal, is it under 1.5 or even a patented under 90-second banger?
It's probably nah. It's got to go longer than 90 second, but it would not surprise me. I think this will be. I think it'll be over 1.5.
Yeah, fair play. Let us know in the comments if you're taking Jeff Neal by finish decision or if you like Medic as the Doctor dog to get this one done. But either way, swap us through, me boy. Last one. If you made it this far, appreciate you grilling and chilling. Sean Strickland taking on Fluffy Hernandez. Sean Strickland is a sizable dog in this one, which is a rare spot for him to be in. Fluffy Hernandez, though, minus 310, getting the respect from the odds makers that he finally has been receiving at least the last few fights. Because if you remember, Fluffy Hernandez was a guy that I don't know how many times we were able to take Fluffy as a dog with confidence and he cashed with ease. Eventually, the odds makers figured out, oh, wait, this guy's actually pretty good. Can't, doesn't perhaps pass the most general eye test, but either way, from a fighting perspective, clearly one of the best out there. So the odds makers have finally caught up. Sean Strickland is a plus 230 dog. If you made it this far to Meat Boy MMA video, we know you know the context. So who are you taking this one, Meat Boy? Is Fluffy going to continue the trajectory, challenge Hamza later this year, or is Sean Strickland going to get this one done, find a way to stop takedowns, and ultimately impose his will over Fluffy?
Yeah, I feel like Fluffy is the only savior to potentially dethrone Hamza. Maybe. But man, I just don't know. Hamza's too good. But if anyone can do it, it's Fluffy. Fluffy's gonna absolutely steamroll Sean Strickland. This is kind of a joke of a fight, in my opinion. This will be easy, light work.
Yeah, 69% is rolling with Fluffy, 31% going with Sean Strickland. It's a lot of beige on both sides, so many believe this will be a long, drag 'em out 5 round contest, but there's a sizable chunk, about 32%, rolling with the Fluffy Hernandez by sub option. Do you think that has life? And if so, Fluffy Hernandez, as we know, is a guy with infinite gas tank, right? CEO Marab style work, can shoot relentless takedowns, always finds a way to take the fight where he wants the fight to be. Do you think that Sean Strickland is going to just be overwhelmed by that style and even if it doesn't work in the first minute, it's going to start working later as the fight progresses? Or is there any chance that Sean could keep this fight standing? And if so, what would that fight look like?
Yeah, I mean, if this fight stays standing, I think Fluffy will still beat him, but I don't think he'll keep it standing. I think Fluffy will take him down at will, on the feet, on the ground. Doesn't really matter. Fluffy's got his number. Sean is definitely gonna want to not be on the ground, that's for sure. But doesn't really matter. It's Fluffy. He'll take it to the ground if he wants.
Yeah, and it's not like Sean Strickland is such a slouch on the ground. I believe the dude's a black belt himself, but clearly there's going to be an edge, definitely in the wrestling and definitely just in the all around groundwork for Fluffy, who is able to just kind of dominate everyone he fights in that same style. I love the point you made about Hamzat because to me, we were talking earlier. I mean, the closest competitive fight that I can conjure is Hamzat and Islam, but Hamza versus Fluffy Hernandez is probably my second best option because that's an interesting stylistic matchup. Fluffy's been able to literally do it against everyone. Obviously, Hamza seems like a pipe dream, but until we see someone stop Fluffy, we got to see it to believe it, right? So maybe Tarzan is the one this weekend. I'm with you though. I just don't trust the ability of Sean to thwart the offensive grappling, all of the relentless takedowns across 25 minutes. Maybe he can do it for 5, maybe 10, maybe 15, but Fluffy just never loses any steam and gets the fight where he wants it to be in the end, regardless of how long it takes. So I'll take Fluffy in this one. Do you see this fight going the distance though, or would you lean closer to a later Fluffy finish? If you're taking Fluffy, what's the outcome?
Yeah, I think Fluffy, honestly, he probably wins ground and pound, maybe submission, but I think ground and pound KO.
Ground and pound would be fascinating. Only like 5% Tapology rolling that. You're probably getting plus 800. I think there could be life there for sure. I'll probably go Fluffy. I'm going to say fourth round submission, but I like your TKO idea for sure. I think that either pathway, if again, Fluffy can get the fight down there, will perhaps be available because he's a dude who just always seems to do the right move on the ground, right? Like if he sees a submission opportunity, he'll go for it. If he has a TKO opportunity, he'll go for it. Like he always makes the right decision. So if he can get the fight there, I wouldn't expect anything else against Tarzan. Specific method, definitely difficult to predict though. But either way, meat boy, UFC Houston, I feel like they got them a somewhat decent card, assuming this meat event delivers. Will this card deliver, or is this just gonna be in the dustbin?
It might be a Dusty Dinkelman, maybe in the bin, but I think Fluffy will put on a great performance and will tell us a lot if maybe he has a chance against Hamzat.